Hi, I'm Oliver Silver. I'm an N3 intern, summer 2025, under IODs. Um, um, and yeah, I'm gonna start my presentation. Also, sorry if I talk a bit fast. I just went overtime like 3 times in a row while recording this. But yeah, project description. I've been working in the area of trees interactions, or reactions specifically to climate and the presence of other trees and plants around them, and specifically trees under the effect of the urban heat island effect within Blackrock Forest. And I'll describe the urban heat island effect in a second. Um, Study area physically was mostly in Blackrock Forest, with touching a little bit in Central Park, but mostly Blackrock Forest. Here's some data taken by IO on on different species variation within Blackrock Forest. Um, some important concepts: DBH, diameter at breast height. It's a standardized unit of measurement in forestry. I used to help to measure the thickness of a tree's trunk. UHI, the urban heat island effect, is the phenomena that urban areas tend to become islands of increased temperature relative to their surrounding area, which become more prevalent as the world becomes more urban. Um, NDVI is a ratio of wavelengths of light used to identify presence of vegetation specifically in remote sensing, and WDI is similar but used to determine presence of water within vegetation, not just the presence of vegetation. Um, Landsat 8 is a satellite whose data I used a lot throughout the project, um, with resolution of 30 meters, so every pixel 30 meters. Um, um, and which is really impressive considering this thing's taking pictures from up in orbit. It has a large variety of wavelengths, which is important for calculating NDVI and NWDI, as have as I mean, considering they are a ratio of wavelengths, and they have specific wavelengths they need to be calculated as shown in their equations, and yet Landsat has the necessary data to calculate them. And it goes around the world and takes pictures, a full set of pictures every 16 days. R is a programming language designed for use in statistics. It was revolutionary when it came out. It can do things that might take other languages like 300 lines in like 20, specifically in statistics, though. Um, like, it's not really like I wouldn't use it outside the realm of statistics, but yeah. Also, even though I didn't focus on it much in my project. I just want to emphasize the importance of it. DBH is very important in helping to learn about just general health and conditions of trees, but also for how much carbon dioxide trees are capable of capturing. And here's some data also taken by hand by IO um, on DBH within Blackrock Forest. That's in like different sections of the forest. Um, so yeah, the initial research questions that we at the very beginning decided and built the direction of our project upon. Specifically, we went with the first one here, um, which is yeah, how does distant proximity of trees to each other and how clustered they are affect their canopy temperature. Um, and we attempt to do this using geographical data on the trees within Blackrock Forest, within Google Earth Engine, along with data of canopy temperature and NWDI, which again, a previous intern had already in their project made a model for, because their project was on urban heat islands hotspots, and NWDI was important for aspects of that project. So, because they were seeing how vegetation affected it, and there's a picture of that. I built off that for use in this, but unfortunately there wasn't any. No one had calculated, or not calculated, taken any geographical data on the trees specific enough to work for this, and we did not have the resources to take it ourselves, or rather the time um, or availability. Um, but while searching for data I found um, in NOAA weather stations, but more importantly, the BlackRock Forest's own weather station, a lot of climate data, which inspired me to take the project in a similar direction that we would actually have enough data for, um, which is connection between standard deviation of rainfall and NWI as well as CO2 absorption. Which this is important due to climate change is making weather patterns more erratic. These changing patterns can affect trees' ability to absorb CO2 and water, because I'm the process of photosynthesis in which they absorb CO2. Yeah, it uses both water and sunlight, which are things that are affected by storms. Um, the approach used RStudio to take the, make models for connections between CO2 levels and rainfall between their data, um, specifically the period after rainfall. But due to not having any experience in RStudio before, I've had lots of issues with the code specifically in determining the period after rainfall if there were multiple consecutive rainstorms in close proximity. Started making the foundations of the model for the standard deviation of rainfall connected to the CO2 levels, but due to just the shaky foundation with the code, it kind of all fell apart, and I had to start from scratch. Um, Further down the line, if I had been more competent with um, I would have also added NWDI levels and compared them to the CO2 levels and standard deviation of rainfall. But in the end, again, everything the code just didn't end up working at all, and I had to start from scratch. I did get enough of it back working to find a connection between CO2 levels and rainfall, but like I didn't know enough RStudio really to make a good nice graph of it. Um, so I kind of make a mock-up in Google Sheets, still using the data, but it's like more, it's in Google Sheets. It's more of a mock-up. But you can see here, you can see the trend. Oh yeah, I accidentally used a line graph there. You can see the trend of you don't. There's not much an area where there's lots of rainfall. There's not much CO2. The CO2 levels in parts per million drop. Um, Running out of time here, so I'm going to speak quickly. Sorry. Going forward, yeah, basically, it's really hard to motivate myself for working in the field of pure statistics. But I started putting together the idea later on in the internship of a project to work on this fall, more heavily in the field of engineering. I found it much easier to work on the engineering-based project, or at least the plans for like what I'm going to do this fall. And I kind of found like I was much more excited to work in engineering. So yeah, I will clean up the model in case anyone wants to use the beginnings of a model in the future build that I made in R, but again, it's kind of messy. Um, but yeah, before I start on the fall project, I'll try to clean it. But yeah, the idea for the project is microhorizontal network of fungus underground that transmit resources and signals, electric signals that trees and plants talk to each other with. Um, Thing has wires in ground, has chemicals that new root growth emits that attracts network to wires, cir- um, circuits with lights that once wires emit certain voltage, LED lights up. Um, Different circuits have different voltage requirements. Yeah, running out of time. Oh yeah, acknowledgements. Thank you to of course my mentor, Dr. Dees, um, and of course he was my mentor, and also my project was very much built off of his dissertation. I couldn't have done it without his dissertation, of course, and of course his help. Of course, thank you to the N3 program. Um, just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. It was really fun, even if the code didn't end up working most of the time. Um, Thank you to the previous intern, Jensen, who's specifically work in NWDI was really important for my project. Thank you to BlackRock Forest, of course, the state in their weather station. project was based around black. If there was no forest, this project wouldn't have existed, and without the weather station data, it wouldn't have. Thank you to people who helped me on the R forum, Professor Rubin, and whoever's username is Margusul. They didn't have much other information on them, so that's their username on the R forum. Um, and thank you to the Landsat missions and everyone that worked on that. Of course, Landsat 8 data also wouldn't have been able to do this project without the images from that. Um, yeah, and out of time. Thanks.